going to call the Education and Health Committee to order. Madam Clerk, could you please do a roll call?
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Sorry that we're a little bit late getting started, but I think some members might have thought that the meetings will be at 8:30, but I specifically said to everybody last week that that was the only time it was going to be 8:30. From now on, it's going to be 8 o'clock prompt. Good morning. Well, I want to start off this morning by doing something that I think I neglected to do last week, and that is to acknowledge staff, because they came in on Sunday to help me to do my docket. And I mean, I think that was just a little bit beyond what is required of you, and I just appreciate it so much. So I'd like for the staff to be introduced so that everybody can know exactly who your hardworking staff people are.
Julia Carlton with the Divisional Letter.
Is your mic up, Julia?
Yes.
It's on, I think. Can you guys hear me? No.
Try again.
Good morning, everyone. Julia Carlton with the Division of Legislative Services.
I'm Anna Moyer, and I'm also an attorney with the Division of Legislative Services.
I'm Patty Long, and I'm with Senate Committee Operations.
And I'm Catherine Dent, and I'm also with Senate Committee Operations.
Thank you so much. I just appreciate so much all of the time that you put in this weekend helping us get prepared for this docket. I just want to lay out a little parameters here. We have bills that have gone into subcommittees, and if the bills have been heard in subcommittee, we will not have testimony on those bills again in this forum. So if you want to be heard on legislation coming out of this committee, you're going to be required to go to the subcommittees and voice your opinions there. And so with that, I'd like to call on the subcommittee chairs to give their reports. And I'm going to start with Subcommittee on Public Education.
Thank you,
Senator
Madam.
Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first bill that came out of the Public Education Subcommittee is SB 132, patroned by Senator Chase, and it was the requirement to have public schools provide electives on Hebrew Scriptures and the Old Testament and the New Testament. Requires Board of Education to authorize local school boards to offer as an elective in grades 9 through 12 appropriate credits towards graduation, a course on Hebrew Scriptures and Old Testament. That bill was passed by indefinitely with a vote of 3 yes and 2 noes. SB 161, patroned by Senator Boysko, was...
Oh, hold a second.
Oh, sorry.
I need everybody mics to be turned up because I'm not sure if the audience can hear that well because I can't hear back here either. Patty, can you test her mic, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Shall I repeat SB 132? SB 132, patroned by Senator Amanda Chase. It was a requirement to provide an elective on Hebrew Scriptures / Old Testament and the New Testament. And that bill was recommended passed by indefinitely with a vote of 3 yes and 2 no.
Okay, we need to have a motion on behalf of the committee. So.
Move to pass by indefinitely.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, it has been moved and second that Senate Bill 132 passed by indefinitely. All in favor, please vote yes. Those opposed, no. Madam Clerk, close the roll.
Who has her proxy?
Yeas 8, nays 6.
Bill passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
SB 161, patroned by Senator Boysko, public elementary and secondary schools regarding the treatment of transgender students. and it requires that the Department of Education develop and make available to each school board no later than December 31st of 2020 model policies concerning the treatment of transgender students in public elementary and secondary schools to address issues such as best practices for the treatment of transgender students and information and guidelines. This bill was recommended for reporting with a vote of 3 yes and 2 no.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman?
can I ask a question to the subcommittee chairman? Is it looking through the bill, is it anticipated that the model policy will encourage localities to allow boys to participate in girls' athletic activity?
I believe Senator Boysko is prepared to respond to that.
Senator Borsco, good morning.
Okay. I am interested in entertaining a motion to amend the bill, do a line amendment on line 25, which would amend the bill to say student participation, sex-specific school activities, events, delete the word athletics, and use school facilities. So you would add an and between the activities and events and delete athletics.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson?
I'll make that motion, and I'll note that Virginia High School Athletics League typically deals with those issues, so
Correct.
I'd make that motion.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
It's been moved in second.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Cosgrove?
you can take out athletics, but the way it's still worded, school activities and events, athletics is still going to be included in that.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson?
and I'll tell my colleague, we have this argument every year, or at least we did with Tebow rule, and that is Virginia High School Sports League handles these issues.
Correct.
They do a very good job of it, and we're probably better off not trying to get into that, so let's not get into it.
Correct.
Madam
I
Chair.
agree.
Madam Chair,
Oh, Senator Donovan?
I just want to point out that it has been the posture of this body that we don't legislate things that are being considered in other arenas. And despite the High School Association policy on sports activities, that is being challenged by young women who feel like their Title IX rights have been infringed upon, and it is currently under investigation by the Office of Civil Rights. And so I think we need to be very clear in this bill that sports are not included. I had not considered the activities line, but I think we need to be clear that we're careful on that until this issue is resolved, because it is not resolved, and therefore we should not be legislating it.
Senator Newman?
Madam Chair, I don't want anybody to think I'm going to vote for it. I'm not, but I do think we ought to clean it up. And so we can do it between now, or we can do it on the way to the floor. But I think that Senator Cosgrove is probably right, that the absence of the word doesn't mean that it isn't going to still be in there. So maybe you'd have to say not to include athletics or something of that nature.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson?
I'm not a huge fan of using legislative history, but the legislative history on this bill is going to show was introduced with the word athletics, and that was stricken, and the judge will take notice of that. So I think that speaks for itself.
Okay, Senator Borsco, you want to?
Madam Chair, yes. So the VHSL has a policy in place that takes into consideration and makes decisions on behalf of the school athletics already. I don't see any reason for us to have the word athletics in the bill, and I would move that you pass the bill with the amendment as proposed.
Madam Chair, just as a matter of interest,
Senator Edwards?
I'm almost positive I read where some girl was really pretty good kicker and played on the football team. She's a really good field goal kicker. It helped the team a lot. Yeah, she needs to go where? Virginia Tech? No.
Madam Chair,
Senator Howell?
I'd move that I'd move the amendment of Senator Boysko.
Can I get a second to the amendment? It's been moved and properly seconded that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor will please designate aye, and those who are opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Senator Howell?
I'd move the bill be reported as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 161 be reported as amendment. All in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Thank you, Senator Bosco.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeas 10,
Senator
nays
Hashmi?
5.
Senator Hashmi?
SB 176, motion to recommend
No, I brought it up.
this particular, I'm sorry, let me start over again. SB 176, patroned by Senator Chase. It was regarding school holidays on certain election days. It was prohibiting local school boards from requiring students to attend school on the second Tuesday in June or the Tuesday after the first Monday.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Says law, please. I can't hear. There's
After
too
the
much going
first
on behind
Monday
me.
in November.
Excuse me, there's too much going on behind my head. Mr. Senator Saslaw? I can't hear, yeah, you didn't hear me, I couldn't hear either. Senator Hashmi? I'm sure you were. You always talking about something important. Senator Hashmi?
I'll start over again. Prohibiting local school boards from requiring students to attend school on the second Tuesday in June or the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. And then the bill also prohibits parent-teacher conferences and meetings from being held on those dates as well. The amendment was made to first take out the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. That amendment was passed. I'm sorry, the amendment was, the amendment was passed 2-0 with 3 abstentions. And then the motion to recommend reporting passed with, again, a vote of 2-0 and 3 abstentions.
Madam Chair, question.
Senator Peterson.
Okay, I'm looking at the bill on lines 40 and 41. It says, "No parent-teacher conferences or meetings may be held on these dates." And I can simply say, that's when you have your parent conference meetings. I've been in the public school system for about 18 years as a parent now. And that's when you have the parent conference meetings on election day, because that's frankly when the school's closed, but the teachers come in anyway. So that, to me, would be a disaster, at least in Fairfax County, and I think a lot of the same jurisdictions. So I don't see how we can have that be a part of this statute.
Madam Chair.
Senator Pete.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Peterson, we struck that because the governor, or Senator Chase struck that. The governor's proposed that Election Day be a state holiday. And if it's a state holiday, there will be no parent-teacher conferences or anything going on at the school on that date. So as it stands now, Senator Chase's bill aligns with the governor's proposal to make Election Day a state holiday.
Madam Chair,
Assuming
Senator Howell.
I had a question, and I was on the committee, so I probably should know the answer to this. But Senator Chase's bill covers primaries, and the governor's does not. The primaries was struck, excuse me, Madam Chair.
So what remains then?
Madam Chairman,
Senator Cosgrove.
I'd ask the patron. I guess I'd ask the chairman. You have to have 181 school days a year. Now are we extending the school year by another day because we're taking Election Day as a holiday?
These are always teacher work days.
Senator Saslaw, you want to respond? Turn your mic on.
I'm not on that subcommittee, but my guess would be that, they'll still get the 180 days in and just be one extra, either longer or shorter. If you remember, we altered the Labor Day bill last year. So my guess would be that we're going to have to meet the 180 days, whether you do it early or late. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want me to
Recognize
answer that?
Senator Chase.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to comment that the language was struck to answer, I can't remember who had the question, I think it was Senator Howell,
Peterson.
about primary days would not be included. We amended it to only have it on Election Day for the general election, not on a primary day. The reason that we said no teacher parent conference days
on the holiday was simply because at a lot of our elementary schools, it limits the parking in a lot of, in our area. And so voters were having to stand in line 2.5 hours. We actually had an injunction in Chesterfield because of 3 of our voting locations. All day long, voters were having to wait in line 2.5 to 3 hours. So we wanted to alleviate that problem. The second issue had to do with our public school teachers not being able to vote because of the long lines, which, you know, they're engaged in the teacher-parent conferences, and a lot of them were voting in precincts that were not their home school. So we're trying to eliminate both of those issues.
Senator Peterson?
Let me just respond to that, and we're going to take up some, 90% of people work on Election Day, including all of my employees, okay? So and somehow they figure it out. So I'm not big on we got to shut down an entire school system. Now, in Fairfax County, it's worked out well that we've had teacher work days on the Monday and Tuesday because it's the end of the first quarter, and that matches up well with Election Day. But that's also the day when they have parent-teacher conferences. So I'm afraid on this bill, and I'm not quite even sure what form it's in now, that we're limiting local school boards. You know, when we put a lot of verbiage in the code, and what may work in Fairfax may not work down in Chesterfield. I totally get that. But the problem is by putting this in the code, we're doing a one-size-fits-all template, and that's kind of what my problem is.
Senator Cosgrove?
I'm sorry to speak yet again, but I think we're going down a slippery slope on this bill because it will call out basically the regular election day. But, you know, in Hampton Roads, we have May elections. We have special elections. There's all kinds of elections. And I think the state mandate to the individual school systems is short-sighted. You know, we have school boards for a reason, and that's to take care of what happens in the local schools. And I think mandating from the state is just not the way to do this. Again, we expand their school year by at least a day for this if we mandate this. I just don't think this is a very good idea.
Thank you, Senator Cosgrove. Senator Suderline?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know what issues there are in Chesterfield, but it seems that these would be things best suited for the Chesterfield Electoral Board if there's challenges there. Roanoke County, we've done a few different approaches. Most of the years my kids have been schooled, that's the year we do have teacher conferences. This year they're trying a different approach. But I just don't want to limit my school divisions either. And I think that we have local electoral, you know, we've heard about local school boards for a reason, but we also have local electoral boards for a reason. And that's so that they can make these decisions and they live close to those folks that are going to complain to them about having to stay in line. And we need to help make that go quicker, but I don't think we should do it at the expense of everyone else.
Thank you, Senator Suderline. Senator Peake?
Madam Chair, I was advised that the governor's proposal to make Election Day in November a state holiday passed out of local government yesterday. And I just hope everybody on this committee will remain consistent if they're going to vote against Senator Chase's bill. I hope they'll vote against the governor's proposal to make Election Day a state holiday. I don't want this to be a partisan issue.
Madam Chairwoman, may I address one of the issues that was
Senator
mentioned?
Chase, and then we're gonna move to a motion.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. One of the things that I just wanted to comment, I believe it was the House that had recommendations as far as security concerns with the large numbers of people that we have in general elections that come to our public schools, which are voting precincts on Election Day. It is a security, a safety issue with the large amount of voters coming to these schools. And I'm really thinking about the elementary schools and the middle schools predominantly. It's a safety issue because most of these schools, you have to get in by pushing a button and allowing the administration to allow you in. And so we are we're trying to eliminate a safety issue here. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have a range of opinions here, but we have to adopt the amendment. Did we get a motion on the amendment? Second? We'll get a second? Okay. Madam Clerk? I think we need, is this going to be a voice vote? Voice vote. Okay, all in favor? Let it be known by. Noes, have the same right? Okay, the amendment has been adopted. Okay, motion on the bill? Yes,
Yes, the motion to recommend reporting had passed, and there's an error in the handout that was distributed. It was a motion to recommend reporting passed with a vote of 2-0 with 3 abstentions.
seems to me we need to take a vote here. Do I get a motion? But was the recommendation to pass? It was 2-0-3 nays to pass? Okay,
That was the motion from the subcommittee.
okay, then, okay, the motion coming from the subcommittee is that the bill be passed, and all in favor, please. Madam Clerk.
Yeas 1, nays 14.
Thank you.
Senator Chase. Senator Hashmi?
SB 232, patroned by Senator Boysko, regarding menstrual supplies in school buildings, requires each school board to make tampons and pads available at all times and at no cost to students in the bathrooms of each public school at which any student in grades 5 through 12 is enrolled, and at which at least 40% of the enrolled students are eligible for free or reduced lunches. This bill was recommended for reporting to the committee by a vote of 4 yes and 1 abstention.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. Any questions by any member of the committee?
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson?
do we have to have this in the code? Well, we got to have some laws in the code. I mean, I don't know.
I think we have a motion. Senator Cosgrove?
Before we go on, and Senator Newman brings up a very valid point, is this for just public schools, or does this include private institutions?
The bill said public schools, of each public school.
Okay.
Didn't we pass this last year?
Senator Cosgrove, you done?
It says each school boards.
But
Senator Cosgrove?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Speaker, it mentioned school boards. I happen to be on a school board of St. Matthew's Catholic School in Virginia Beach. So I'm not sure if this isn't going to be inclusive of that as well.
Senator Boysko?
Madam Chair, just to clarify, lines 15 and 16, school building means any facility leased, owned, or otherwise controlled by a school board that houses a public school at which any student in grade 5 through 12 is enrolled. So just wanted to clarify that.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peake?
if I may ask Senator Boysko.
Senator Peake?
Is there a budget amendment or any funding for this?
Madam Chair, there is not a budget amendment for this. In my localities where we have piloted this program, they have partnered with nonprofits such as BRAS, Sylvia Sisters, the Period Patch, other groups who have done basically public-private partnerships work through the school boards themselves. The VEA supports this bill.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peake?
Yeah, so Senator Boyce, there is nothing preventing them from doing it. So every school locality board can do this if they choose. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, we provide other necessities in our bathrooms, and this is definitely a necessity for the girls who attend school. We want to make sure that they are able to get their education, and most schools provide these in the nurse's office. This would be asking that they provide it in the bathroom because, as all of us women understand, sometimes you don't have time to get to the nurse's office, and it can end up being a little bit embarrassing.
Thank you, Senator Boysko, for
Yes,
that
ma'am.
reminder. We have
Madam Chair,
Senator Suderline.
I did not really want to speak to the bill, but.
Can you please turn your mic on so I can hear what you got to say?
It seems like it's a mandate only on the less affluent schools. And so I just don't follow the reasoning. at the bottom, it says where at least 40% of the enrolled students are eligible for free or reduced lunch. It would seem that this need would exist everywhere, but the mandate's only placed on those that have the least money already.
Madam Chair.
And so I don't understand why that would be the policy prescription.
I'm sure Senator Borsco is about to explain that to you right now.
Certainly, I'd be happy to entertain an amendment. If you would like to expand it to all schools, I'd certainly welcome that. There's a good amount of data that shows that there are students here in Virginia and all over the world who are not able to get to school because they don't have the products. They can't afford them.
Madam Chair.
Senator Howard giving me her.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Senator Howard, then Senator
Well,
Peterson.
I'd like to make that amendment to strike the 40% language.
Do I get a second on that? It's been moved and second that the 40% be stricken from the language. All in favor, please let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Noes have the same right? Thank you, Senator Borsco.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson?
I have a question on this, and this bill, I've read this bill, and it's written more like a Section 1 bill, and I understand you want to have it in the code, so you don't want a Section 1 bill, but it's got, for example, sort of a lot of justification for what the law is, and then the last sentence is, each school board shall make menstrual supplies available. Is there any reason why we can't just make that section be starting with, each school board shall make menstrual supplies available at all times? Otherwise, we have about 20 lines of code as to justification.
Madam Chairwoman,
Senator Borsco.
I would be happy to entertain that as well.
All right,
Senator Peterson?
yes, ma'am. I would strike from line 17 to 27, starting with in recognition, ending with the word embarrassment, and just start, each school board shall make, and just leave it that way.
Okay, do I get a second on Senator Peterson's line amendments? Okay, it's been moved and second, and we're going to do that by voice vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Senator Borsco?
Yes, ma'am. I move that you report the bill.
Senator Hosby?
I move that we report the bill.
Do I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported with the noted amendments. All in favor? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I see that now we have, let me go back, and Senator Favola. Could you please, because you're Senate Bill 104,
And Madam Chair, I respectfully ask that the committee strike that bill.
okay? Without objection, the bill will be stricken. Okay, I think we're going to do a recorded vote on that. Thank you for the reminder, Madam Clerk.
104.
Yep, Senator Hashmi,
Yeas
does that
15,
come?
nays 0.
Senator Hashmi, does that complete your report?
That does complete the report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our Chair of the Subcommittee on Health, Senator Lewis, your report?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. We met, several of the bills were requested to go by. However, we did consider Senate Bill 365 by Senator Donovan, which required the State Board of Health to promulgate regulations regarding credentialing. The committee heard testimony and discussed the matter, and on a motion to recommend reporting, failed on a tie of 2-2.
Madam Chairman? I didn't fail on a, no. Yeah, I think I'd like to ask the committee if this could go by for a week, because we're having a conversation about how to do it a little differently.
Without objection. Without objection, the bill will go by for a week.
Thank you.
Senator Lewis.
All right, Madam Chair, next we considered Senator Donovan's 569, to which a line amendment was offered. That bill requires the Department of Behavioral Health and Sciences to develop and obtain mental health mobile application to facilitate the provision of crisis intervention services by licensed clinicians to individuals in the Commonwealth through calls, texts, and online chat portals. And it was the recommendation of the subcommittee that the bill be reported with the amendment, and the recommendation was on a 4-0 vote. And so I would move the bill be reported with the amendment.
Senator Newman moves the amendment. Second.
Second.
Senator Donovan, Senator Sastow, both second. We're going to have a recorded vote. All in favor, please report. That's for the amendment. Senator Lewis?
Next, we took up Senator
Oh,
Mason.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Now we need a motion to recommend the bill.
We just,
The report is amended. Moving a little bit too fast here. It's been moved and properly second that Senate Bill 569 be reported as amended. All in favor, please designate your preference. Madam Clerk. Thank you. Now back to Senator Lewis.
All right, Madam Chair. Next, we took up Senator Mason's Senate Bill 572. This is a bill that provides that the Department of Health, in consultation with the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services, shall have the lead responsibility for taking actions to address and reduce the risks and impairments associated with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias within the Commonwealth. Senator Mason further offered that there was some, this would also allow us to access some federal funds that have been allocated in the Alzheimer's disease fight area. And so it was the recommendation of the subcommittee on a 4-0 vote that the bill be reported. And so I would so move.
Do I get a second?
Second, Madam Chairman, but point of order, I believe this needs to be re-referred to finance.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're going to recommend reporting and re-refer to finance, Senator Lewis?
Yes, sir. That would be my motion, Madam Chair.
It's been seconded by Senator Donovan. All in favor of recommending reporting and re-referring to Senate Finance, all let it be known by sign of yea or nay. Thank you. Senator Lewis?
And finally, Madam Chair, we took up Senator Boysko's Senate Bill 657, and this was a bill involving issuance of new birth certificates for transgender individuals, and it required that upon request of a person in accordance with the requirements of the Board of Health, the state registrar will issue a new certificate of birth to show a change of sex of the person, and if a certified copy of a court order changing the person's name is submitted to show a new name. There was actually a substitute and an amendment to the substitute that was offered. It was the recommendation of the subcommittee, Madam Chair, that the bill be recommended to be reported with the amended substitute on a 3-1 vote.
Okay, you've heard the report that the bill be recommended for reporting, the substitute be recommended for reporting as amended.
There was a substitute.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the substitute is in front of you in your subcommittee on health packet.
Senator Peterson?
I have. Look at you.
Madam
Senator Peterson?
Yeah, I do have some questions. And I guess my initial question is, I understand a birth certificate is a historical record. And so the original birth certificate is what it is. I mean, if somebody goes through a transition or changes a name or changes their gender, how would that change the historical record of their birth?
Senator Peterson, I think Senator Boysko is best poised to answer that, although we did consider and discuss the fact that this is a new certificate as opposed to an amended certificate, but I'll let her speak to that.
Okay.
Senator Boysko?
Certainly. So the community who are members of the transgender community have really difficult times with this disparity. So legally, we allow them to change, their gender on their licenses, on their passports, which is also an official document. When they go to a job and they're required to provide a birth certificate and, say, a passport, and they're not congruent, that's a very difficult position for them to be in.
But, Senator, if I might,
Senator Peterson, continue.
it may be a difficult position to be in, and they'd have to explain it, but again, it's a historic record. And historic records, I mean, accuracy has a reason. I mean, if somebody was born and there's a record of their birth, and then they later say, well, you know what, I changed, or that's fine. I mean, but you're talking about changing a historic record.
Well, Madam Chair, Madam Chairwoman, I believe that there is, I mean, this is a very complex issue, and gender identity, I actually have a neurobiologist here in the audience who explains that it is wholly accurate that sometimes a person's chemistry changes the actual physical gender, and the mental gender is different. And the person always feels like, they're assigned at birth one way, and I understand where
that,
maybe.
but again, and I'm not here to make a political point. I'm just saying that when we have a birth certificate, we need to know that it's accurate. And I have an issue with changing something 10, 15, 20 years later. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person that feels that.
Madam
Chair.
And Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Senator T.
I have a question for the patron. Right.
Senator Borsco?
Yes, can you get this birth certificate change if you have not had a surgical procedure? That's a yes?
Yes, it is. It's, so it would require that the person would show that they had that it would have to be completed by a healthcare provider for whom the person has received treatment stating that their person has undergone clinically appropriate treatment for gender transition. And there is data, there are guidelines. This is not something that someone goes back and forth with. There is no data that anybody switches back and forth. But
Madam Chair.
we know that.
Okay. But they do not have to have any physical
Correct.
change?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Donovan?
Yes, I wanted to point out a couple of things. First, to Senator Peterson, you've got that this is a change in the code, that currently the birth certificate can be changed. It's a matter of changing. But to the patron, I wanted to ask, on line 31, there was an amendment that was offered in committee.
Correct.
That I think we didn't have in writing. I think my only concern about this bill is that the documenting requirement from the state and the physician is a permissive requirement. They may present. I think they probably need to present a document, and it needs to be shall. What we changed was the documentation to make it, less onerous and, more aligned with some other identification procedures. So I would like to amend this line 31 to say shall instead of may.
Madam Chair, I'd be happy to entertain that.
Okay, can I get a second on the recommended?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the line amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please, Madam Clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
And Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to just further explain, we already have in the code and in law that a person can change their birth certificate in Virginia. Currently, you have to undergo the entire medical procedure, which is very painful, difficult, expensive, hard to find. And this is not changing the ability to change your birth certificate. It is simply giving the person an opportunity to do so without undergoing the medical treatment, the physical surgery, but undergoing medical treatment with a provider, making sure that there's documentation, working with the vital records. I've worked closely with the vital records department on this bill, and they are comfortable with it.
Madam Chair.
Senator Lewis?
And I think to Senator Peterson's point, which I certainly understand and initially sort of shared when we looked at this bill, I think the idea is that the original certificate, as time goes on, is in error.
Yeah. Thank you.
Physically, biochemically, hormonally in error. And so this is really a correct historical record, if you will. So,
Madam Chair?
Senator Edwards?
Follow up on that. There's a name for this, I can recall, that people are born a certain percentage with the organs of both sexes. And it creates some issue with the parents, and sometimes they make a surgery the wrong way. So I think this is, the fact that the original birth certificate is actually accurate physically and emotionally and neurologically and whatever is not necessarily true.
Thank you.
Back to you, Senator Borsco. If the Senator Chafin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would simply remind the committee that history is created without our efforts. History is something that occurs. The world's history occurs. People's history occurs. All these circumstances that create history are a matter of actual evolution, and that is what creates history. And I believe as a body, as a body politic, as a legislature, we have an obligation to understand that history is something that we cannot rewrite, but if we seek to rewrite it, we need to record the fact that we are rewriting it.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Donovan?
I will just say, I think the sex on your birth certificate is a fact when you're born. But the other fact of the matter is that our birth certificate is currently required for all sorts of other documentation. It would be nice if we didn't have to use the birth certificate and we had another means of documenting it. That would be a more accurate accounting, I agree. I think the vice here is that birth certificate is the hinge for so many other things.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair?
Senator Barker?
That's quite all right. Yeah, I think there are several things here that are important to understand. One is this is not a new thing as it relates to us. And I mean, this code section, I'm sure, has been around for a long time because it deals specifically with changing birth certificates. And the most common thing I think that probably has happened over the years is people who are adopted. So that when an infant is born, they get the birth certificate with the birth parents, but when there's an adoption that occurs, often that certificate is replaced that shows the adoptive parents as the parents on the birth certificate. It's also important to note that we are not changing history, as Senator Chase, in that we actually keep the certificate, the original certificate, but it is sealed and can only be open for inspection if a court orders that. And that's on lines 35 through 42, which is not new language. That's existing language in the code right now. So we actually keep the original certificate. It's just that you have to go through a court to be able to get access to it.
Thank you, Senator Barker. Okay, Senator Howell.
I was just going to move that the bill be reported as amended.
As amended by
Yes, as amended by Senator Chase. By Senator
Donovan's suggestion.
Sorry, I apologize. There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 10, nays 5.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Senator Lewis, does that complete your?
Completes my report, Madam Chair.
Okay, I think now we move to Senator Barker, and Senator Barker, you have health professions?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a meeting on Tuesday. We had a short period of time. The first person to testify was to present a bill was Senator Serville. He had 3 bills, and we got through one of them. So it was actually, there was a lot of testimony on that, a lot of discussion. So, what you have here is only one bill coming from the subcommittee. And just for the audience's understanding, this subcommittee is going to start meeting tomorrow on Friday mornings. So we have more time because a majority of us had conflicts with the meeting on Tuesday.
I understand.
So we're moving to that tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, we'll be meeting on Friday mornings at 8:30. Okay. What this bill does from Senator Serville is that it says that conversion therapy, as it relates to practice or treatment that seeks to change an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity, is prohibited for those individuals who are less than 18 years of age. So it would ensure that adolescents in particular would not have to undergo this therapy. One of the things that was significant in terms of the information and testimony that was provided at the subcommittee meeting is that essentially there are large numbers of organizations representing different types of health and mental health professionals that support this proposal. We did have the committee recommend reporting of this. I forget what the vote was on it.
4-3?
4-3, yeah. 4-3 was the vote on it. But the subcommittee recommends reporting, and then I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's
Madam
been moved.
Chair,
Senator Sutherland?
at the subcommittee, there was some discussion between Senator Servo and I about a possible amendment to the enactment clause at the bottom.
Okay.
Regarding state funds. And at the time, I said I didn't have what I thought the language would be. If you'd entertain that, I'd be happy to suggest that. I think that Senator Barker would be a pretty good arbiter of if it is aligned with what Senator Servo was seeking to do regarding the state resource portion of it.
I understand that Senator Servo is running across campus, and he'll be on his way shortly to respond to you.
Great.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye temporarily.
We will continue the discussion among the committee members. Senator Donovan, Senator Newman?
Madam Chair, if you don't want to, we could just have it go by temporarily. I'd be interested to hear what Senator Servo says about this. I know Senator Hanger and others are here.
And Madam
Okay,
Chair,
Yes, Senator Peake.
and I have a question, and I don't know if anyone, our staff, who may answer if Dr. Donovan knows, but my question would be in Servo, is it allowed now in the state that children under the age of 18 can actually undergo physical sex reassignment surgery? And I don't know if that is in the code, would be in the code, if anyone can parents with a child under 18 have them actually undergo physical surgery to change their outward sexual appearance?
Senator Newman? Bill's going to go back temporarily while we wait for Senator Servo, and with that, I'm just...
Okay, good.
Senator Hanger, you're a pretty tall guy, but I couldn't see you behind that podium.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I've been enjoying myself back here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all are rather entertaining. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have this morning Senate Bill 610, which deals with pharmaceutical manufacturing grants and a program to be established. Madam Chair and members of the committee, this proposed bill represents, in Senate Bill 610, represents an agreement that was reached with the administration and an economic development deal, and with oversight from the MEI Commission, the Major Employment and Investment Commission that we have established here to deal with these types of programs. This, I expect you'll want to send to Finance, but the framework of it touches you because it deals with pharmaceuticals, and it also deals with educational programs. It envisions grants that will be made available to a private company that's going to make over $1 billion new investment in a physical facility in Rockingham County. And there's a timetable that's spelled out in the bill where appropriations would need to be made if they meet certain targets for employment levels. There's also a piece of this which ties into education, where it's somewhat of a unique agreement for an employment pipeline. Not unique now, I guess, because we did the major deal with Amazon last year, but this one would provide some funding to the local community college and one of the state universities to provide assistance in employing for employees for that. So that's what the bill is. It is obviously supported by the administration. The announcement was worked out last spring, and I bring the bill to you here now so that we can actually put this in place.
Thank you, Senator Hanger. Any questions of the Patriot? Yes, it does. I need a motion.
Move report and refer to Finance.
It's been moved and probably second that the bill be reported and re-referred to Finance. Madam Clerk, open the roll, please. Okay, we got it. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 14, nays 0, 1 abstention.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't see you behind the podium, Senator Hayner. Next time I'll call you first.
Madam
Senator Howell.
Chair, it's come to my attention that Senate Bill 569, which we have recommended reporting, does need to go to finance.
It does indeed. Could you make that motion, please?
I move that we reconsider the vote by which we reported Senate Bill 569.
I think that's a voice vote, Madam Clerk. Okay, so by voice vote, it's been moved that the bill be reconsidered. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Senator Howell.
Now move that Senate Bill 569 be reported and re-referred to finance.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported and re-referred to finance. All in favor? Nays have the same right. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Oh.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, we have two other bills, and of course, Senator Peake, you have Senate Bill 920. Okay, it appears that your bill is going to be re-referred to judiciary. Right, okay, so can I, it's been moved and properly second, that Senate Bill 920 be re-referred to the Committee on Judiciary. Thank you. We have one more bill, and, did he leave?
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, I talked with Senator Surville. He was here briefly. He's fine with the amendment that Senator Sudalan is proposing, so we could take that if you want to
Okay,
go
great.
back.
Well, we will return to that bill right now. Go ahead, Senator Barker.
All right, Senator Sudalan, you want to, okay, we're back on Senate Bill 245, dealing with conversion therapy, and a discussion, we had passed it by temporarily earlier to address an amendment from Senator Sudalan. Senator Surville says he's fine with that amendment, so if you want to make that amendment now, Senator Sudalan, now would be the time.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and to the coach, or the subcommittee chair as well, for yielding there. The amendment I think council knows exactly where we're going, would read that no state funds shall be expended for the purpose of conducting conversion therapy with a person under 18 years of age, comma, referring a person under 18 years of age for conversion therapy, comma, or I'm going to hand you the written in a minute, or extending health benefits coverage for conversion therapy with a person under 18 years of age. And I believe Senator Surville agreed to it, and I believe it's in line with what he was requesting in subcommittee, and that's where this amendment was drawn from.
And I'll second that amendment. So.
Been moved and second that the bill as amended?
No, this is we adopted the
That the
amendment
amendment be
first.
agreed to. Thank you for all this help.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, really. It's been moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Motion on the bill, Senator Barker.
With that, I would make the motion that we change the motion to make it the one that we recommend reporting, that we report the bill as amended. So.
Okay, just before we do that, Senator Newman?
Madam Chairman, I appreciate this bill, and Senator Surville was very kind to help explain it, but I think it is a bill that on about 90% we could all agree on, right? I mean, because the things that occur, the shock therapy, some of the other items are barbaric and just, foolish and old. But when it comes to the language of the bill, there wasn't a way to take out the ability to have, for instance, a Christian or Jewish counselor to have the ability to keep their religious liberty intact in their counseling and remain a professional. And we just couldn't get past that. I wish we could find a way to fix that, but as of right now, the language does not allow that.
Thank you, Senator Newman. The motion is that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, please vote yea or nay. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 9, nays 6.
Thank you. There's one more bill, Senator Sasslaw. I yield the voting to you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee,
You're up.
Senate Bill 600. This bill repeals the numerous acts of assembly from 1901 to 1960, all regarding the racial segregation of students in elementary and secondary schools in Virginia, as well as institutions of higher education. Notably, this bill repeals most of the elaborate legal structures of massive resistance to racial desegregation in schools that was Virginia's response to the Brown versus Board of Education decision in 1950. Among other reactions, Virginia's authorized the closing of public schools if there were a threat of forced integration by the federal government. The Commission to Examine Racial Inequity in Virginia Law spent much of 2019 examining Virginia law as found in the Acts of Assembly, the Code of Virginia, and the Virginia Administrative Code for provisions that had an overt racially discriminatory, inequitable purpose of effect. In the Acts of Assembly, many egregious laws that were enacted but never codified, never printed in the Code of Virginia for widespread circulation still remain unrepealed and accordingly are little known as visible to modern inquiry. While their effects have been eliminated by later legislation and court decisions at the federal level, these provisions have no place in Virginia law. Mr. Chairman, that is the essence of the bill.
Okay. It's obvious what this bill's all about, and we all know the history, so. There's a motion and a second to report Senate Bill 600. All those in favor will record their vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
We'll wait for Senator Lucas. No, it's your committee.
Thank you, temporary chair. That's the last bill, so if there's no other business to come before the committee will rise. I'll do it.